The Mothership Core is now officially gone in professional StarCraft 2. What I got for you today is a best of 5 series that's actually the first grand finals played with all of the new maps as well as the new major balance changes to StarCraft 2's multiplayer. And I'm personally really hyped for this, but before I talk about it more, let's go ahead and introduce the players. Spawning here in the top right corner of game number 1 on Blackpink LE, playing with the red Protoss probes, we have none other than Zest. And his opponent spawning in a cross position and playing with the blue Zerg drones, he goes by the nickname of Solar. Now this is indeed going to be the grand finals of Home Story Cup that took place last weekend over in Germany. And while at the time the new balance changes were not quite live for StarCraft 2 just yet, they announced plenty in time that this tournament would indeed be played with all of the new maps as well as all of the new balance changes. Now, of course, while the removal of the Mothership Core is going to be one of the biggest talking points, there's definitely a whole lot of other changes as well that significantly change up Terran as well as Zerg, as well as a whole lot of the other Protoss units actually. And I'm personally really excited to see exactly what players have in mind. I mean, as a fact of the matter is, I've been playing a lot of this balance patch over the last few months. I mean, if you've been watching the live stream whatsoever, you've seen me play all of the new maps as well as all of the new changes already as well. I've been trying to figure out a wide variety of strategies that might potentially be viable, but it's gonna be interesting to see exactly what pro gamers will be making out of these changes right here as well. Now, Zest, of course, definitely one of the highest ranked Protoss players on the planet. The same goes for Solar, definitely one of the very best Zergs. And while this is indeed going to be the grand finals, and a lot of Protoss players were initially a little bit skeptical of the removal of the Mothership Core, it turns out actually that apparently Terran is currently a little bit weaker compared to the other races because of the strength of Brute Infestor and a lot of the new cheeses that Protoss can now go ahead and execute. And Zest, I mean, he's most definitely a rather timing attack and aggressively focused Protoss. I wouldn't be surprised if he's gonna go ahead and show us some very, very interesting strategies in this series here as well. And I love it. I mean, while the game is probably not going to be perfectly balanced yet over the course of the next couple of months, it's going to be so exciting to see all of the new changes develop over the course of time. And I think that a year from now, we're going to have the sickest games in StarCraft 2. While some of them may be a little bit cheesy right now, and it will take players a little bit of time to figure out exactly how they can go ahead and defend against it, apparently actually Zest is opening up right now with a proxy Stargate here as well. I think over time though, the game is only going to get better, and I'm really hyped for it. Anyway, so Zest, he's proxying a Stargate. Nothing new, you may think, right? But anyway, there's actually one major change that has indeed been made, and that is a change to Chrono Boost. Now, this Nexus is indeed saving up energy, and that is on purpose. Chrono Boost now is no longer a permanent ability that you can simply throw on a building. Instead, it's going to be an energy-based boost that's gonna allow you to boost out units extremely rapidly. Look at that bar right there. Look at that bar right here for the Stargate. It's gonna boost out that Oracle extremely rapidly. And we're only 3 minutes and 10 seconds into this game right now. Now, this is by no means actually the most aggressive version of this build. You can actually get a lot of damage done here before the 3-minute mark already. But there we go. We do indeed see the shade in right here with 2 adepts already. Beautiful surround actually by the Zerg player, even morphing in that Spore Crawler there in the nick of time. Question is, however, while the adepts were dealt with absolutely beautifully, is this Oracle gonna be able to deal some damage here as well? 3 minutes and 35 seconds, and it's already inside of the main base of the Zerg, and 2 adepts even, you know, went in front of this as well. This is absolutely crazy. Already, though, so much damage is being done. 5 kills getting picked up here, 5 workers going down rather early on into this game as well. Spore Crawler now going down here in the natural as well. However, while this is all going on, Zest is just simply building up his economy here in the meantime at home. Zerglings now also found the position of that Stargate, so they're going to be able to shut that one down, but not without a second Oracle coming out here as well. I wonder exactly how much damage Zest is going to be able to do with this one though, because at this point in the game, Solar is going to be prepared. But already, we see that change right here in the meta, right? A couple of drones actually getting picked up here nonetheless. Great micro there by Zest. He's one of the greatest micro players when it comes to Protoss in the world right now. The guy's a monster. But right there, 10 drones ended up going down, and or actually 11 drones right there in total going down in just a matter of seconds. Of course, one of those adepts ended up getting a drone kill as well, but that's pretty wild, right? Even though Zerg dealt with those adepts beautifully, he did not quite adapt yet to the strategy right there for the Protoss, where he can just simply proxy a Stargate that early on into the game. Now, of course, for Zerg, there's a couple of major changes as well. For example, fungal growth is now a whole lot bigger. it's a massive spell right now. It no longer actually roots units in place, however. It's gonna be a little bit of a larger spell, but it no longer actually roots units in place. It rather slows them down by 70%, making them a lot more counterable, I guess, as well. But at the same time, you can do a lot more damage if you properly land the very first spell. And I'm actually really curious to see whether or not that's gonna be a big impact in the Protoss versus Zerg matchup. The same can actually be said as well to Parasitic Bomb. Parasitic Bomb now deals 120 damage rather than 60 damage, but no longer stacks. And, you know, all things considered, right? After playing it for an extended period of time, I actually have to say I really like it. Now, of course, with the removal of the Mothership, or not the Mothership itself, actually, the Mothership Core, we saw the addition of the shield batteries here instead. And the shield batteries, of course, are two little buildings that are indeed being put down right now. You can make as many as you would like, however, that are going to be able to heal up all of those shields on, for example, these adepts. If Zerglings were to go ahead and attack these adepts, the shield batteries would just simply regenerate those shields over and over again until they run out of energy themselves. However, two Archons now made their way across the map with a Warp Prism. At the same time, a Zergling drop is gonna go down here in the main base of the Protoss player. Beautiful push here, actually, by Protoss, and I wonder if this is gonna be able to deal a whole lot of damage. Zerglings now unloading, trying to deal as much damage as possible. Even a Stasis Ward going down right now inside of the main base here of the Zerg player. Beautiful split off right there, however, by that Zergling, preventing this from dealing a whole lot of damage. We do now also see Roaches joining in the battle. Queens desperately trying to go after that Warp Prism, dealing a whole lot of damage to it, but the Warp Prism manages to get on out of there with all of these Archons intact. Zerglings in the main base, in the meantime, ended up getting cleaned up as well, and Zest is playing this out like a champion. Really well done here so far. Playing this essentially flawlessly so far at this point in the game. And I mean, without Roach speed, Solar is not really going to be capable of really doing a whole lot. I mean, Solar not quite adapting to the changes as much as his opponent just yet. He's just simply trying to power out those workers. But at this point in the game, he's going up against a well-defended 3-base Protoss that looks extremely powerful. Zerglings once again trying to make their way across. Oracle's doing the exact same thing right now as well. Just simply picking up a worker kill or two. Actually, oh my god. Oh, okay. I was gonna say, is he really gonna be able to get him out of there? But no, he's gonna sacrifice those units here just barely in the nick of time. So Oracles, while they for a little while were, you know, pretty much the most important unit for the Protoss player, for the Protoss player in the earlier part of the game, because they would carry him towards the late game with Revelation and then also Stasis Wards. They are quite a little bit less efficient, but still a great harassment tool, as you could see right there. For example, Stasis Wards now come out with a timer. Revelation lasts a whole lot shorter than it ever did, and, you know, all things considered, it's gonna be less well-rounded. However, Zest is not afraid to move out across the map. Does he have any energy saved up? He does. So Nexi now have a new ability called Mass Recall. Mass Recall is no longer available on the Mothership Core, of course, but it is now on a Nexus instead. It's on a very long global cooldown, but it does mean that Zest can go ahead and push across the map here with a very menacing force, actually. This may be too much, but he's going to be able to push across the map right here with a very nice army. Pick it up, beautifully done there. You know, if things don't go very well for him, he can just simply teleport all these units back home again as well. It's going to be pretty sick to see where the meta develops, but regardless, we now do see a very interesting push. This looks a lot like the previous patches, actually, of StarCraft 2, where it's going to be an Archon Immortal-based army. However, the way that Protoss ended up getting there in this game is very much so different. Beautiful micros so far, great force fields going down. Zerg trying to land those Baneling hits as well, but not quite getting them. Archons being split off to try and soak down some more of those hits as well. Massive warping now coming down here for all of those Zealots. The Warp Prism just barely manages to stay alive as well. A bunch of these corrosive biles are trying to get landed as well, but I think that at this point in the game, there is just simply too much Protoss. More and more reinforcements are now coming in. Zealots were thinking about moving over towards the third base there for just a little bit of time. Great micro so far, once again, with that Warp Prism. No corrosive biles available anymore, so that does mean that another Zealot Warpin will come out. Warp Prism eventually does end up falling, but all of this Protoss is already on top of that natural expansion, killing so many of these spawning units. And while the Zerglings are trying desperately to close the distance and the Zealots are caught at a bit of a weird angle, Solar is gonna be forced to GG out of game number 1. Isn't that awesome though? I mean, that's a strategy right there that would not have been possible in the same way in the previous patch. That's just simply how it is. It would not have been possible in the previous patch. Now, previously, we were on Blackpink LE. Right now, we're on probably the weirdest map in this map pool. It's going to be Battle on the Boardwalk. And yes, this will be a ladder map in the next season of StarCraft 2 on the ladder as well. Let's have a look. There's a natural expansion that seems pretty straightforward, right? Then there's a third base over here. But hold that thought, because from the main base, there's a small little path leading down towards the bottom right-hand corner of the map. And guess what's over there? This is going to be some beautiful golden mineral patches. And interestingly enough, the only way you can get over here is either with a warp prism or a dropship, or by knocking down those rocks. Reapers, for example, can't even jump up on this cliff here either, so that means that indeed, this is going to be a base you can indeed take at the sacrifice, for example, for Zerg with a whole lot of creep spread. I mean, you're not going to be able to get that much creep spread out, but more importantly, you're also not going to be able to defend it nearly as easily as some of the other bases, and it's a rather interesting trade-off that you can go ahead and make. And apparently Protoss, he's gonna go for it. I love it. There's also a rather quick rush distance right here, right next to all of these beach chairs. Look at them. Even a little fire right there going up. I guess this is like a map where you can hang out and enjoy your summer vacation. But regardless, you can indeed rush units very quickly across the map here, getting to your opponent's natural in the earlier parts of this game. But Zest apparently doesn't even need that natural expansion, because he's gonna go for the gold base here right from the get-go. And I wonder what he's got in store for us here today. So for the longest time, right, Protoss really relied on that Mothership Core to deal with the early part of the game. And you know, for a while now, it did look like it was just simply a little bit too powerful. And I personally have to agree with that as well. I just thought it was a little bit too silly as well. How sometimes like a, you know, a very small amount of supply could kill, like, say, 40 supply worth of army, right? And, you know, I guess that's true for other units in the game as well. But it always kind of felt like the Mothership Core was more or less a band-aid that, you know, was there rather than, like, you know, just simply fixing the Protoss early game. Right now, the Stalker is a lot more powerful. I think the changes to Chrono Boost are very interesting as well. The shield battery has been added, and I actually think that Protoss early game may even be a little bit too strong right now. I mean, it's too early to call, and once again, I don't want to make this video a balanced discussion whatsoever. I've been seeing so much of that already on the forums as well as on Reddit and whatnot. It is far too early to give a proper consensus on the, you know, on the balance of the game right now. It's going to take months of fine-tuning before everything is going to look fine, and even then, players are still going to figure out things that are going to be utterly broken. But anyway, like, it's gonna be interesting to see where the meta develops, and I would love it if, you know, the Mothership Core does no longer come back. I mean, I don't think we really need the Mothership Core. I don't think it is a necessity whatsoever, and I think that Protoss is gonna be fine here, as long as these units, for example, are gonna be a little bit more menacing. So right now, the Stalker, right? Quick recap of the Stalker changes. Stalkers now hit a little bit slower, but every single one of their hits is more damage. So that means that it feels a lot more like playing a Dragoon from StarCraft 1, for example. I mean, they feel very similar to, for example, Dragoons. But more importantly, you can now micro them a lot more and get a lot more value out of them. Because, of course, Blink Stalker micro is going to be very interesting to see. Now, Zest, once again, going for that very quick Twilight Council. This time around, however, he's getting himself the charge upgrade here right from the get-go, and he's already getting himself a lot of gateways here as well. Solar, in the meantime, playing this a little bit safer as well. Not quite going for a third base just yet, but instead hanging back here on 2 bases, spreading out that creep, going for the additional queen, and then also adding on that Roach Warren as well as an Evo Chamber much earlier on into this game. Does he have any plans to go for a drop here? In this particular game, it doesn't look like he wants to go for any kind of hyper-aggressive pushes just yet. We do indeed now also see Glio Reconstitution coming in here for the Zerg player. Not quite going for any units here that have been majorly changed, but I do think that Roach Ravager is going to be a lot more viable, because it means that they're going to, you know, have to face off against a lot more gateway-based units, and that's really where Roach Ravager shines. War Prism, however, moving across the map right now again as well. We do see a single Immortal also loaded up in there. Chrono Boost now getting out not only that War Prism and the Immortal significantly faster, but also the charge upgrade. That means that Zest doesn't have that big of an economy, but he's gonna have a very menacing push here at the 4.5 minute mark already on his opponent's side of the map. Creep spread is absolutely crucial here. It does look like there's currently no observer here available just yet. So, of course, that does mean that Protoss has to be careful. He's actually going to check whether or not the base in the bottom right-hand corner of the map is taken, but it turns out that that is not quite going to be the case. I mean, Zest would have absolutely shut that one down in just a matter of seconds. But Zealots are now even reinforcing through the middle of the map here, and I think that Zest does not quite want to give up this aggression just yet. Or maybe he would, just because he knows right now that there's no third base up here for the Zerg just yet, and he may actually be playing inside of the Zerg's arms here if he decides to go for a super aggressive push. Now, this is what I mean, though. Zest's micro, when it comes to both Stalkers as well as Immortals, as well as that War Prism, is ridiculous. He can juggle units all day long. So it's important for the Protoss player right here to simply keep himself... What? Is he actually... Wow, okay, so he walled himself in. Then he realized that apparently he does need to go out in more than one way with, you know, not just the War Prism helping out right there. So apparently he decided to sacrifice that gateway right there for the greater good. But regardless, Zest can indeed juggle these units for an extended period of time. And so far, I mean, he's just eventually adding on a shield battery here as well. There's no third base going up just yet, and I think that's kind of what Solar was hoping for. At this point in the game, he knows that there's no third base available for the Protoss, and he's actually only just now getting it, meaning that he doesn't really have a push to execute here very efficiently himself yet either. Interesting little wall here. Evolution chamber going down. I like this one a lot. Adjusting to the new map here already. But once again, we see those Immortals dealing a little bit of damage. Once again, getting picked up and just simply jumping on out of there. And this is something that was viable in the past, but it just simply fell kind of out of style, right? And that's usually the case as well with these major balance changes. Certain strategies over time just sort of fall out of style. And with new patches, all of a sudden people remember that they used to be powerful as well. The standard has been changed, and well, look at the damage output though. Look at it. Is it gonna get it? Oh, just barely not. But, you know, certain strategies fall out of style, and then the meta just sort of shifts back and realizes that indeed those builds are once again going to be quite popular here as well. Now, Zest so far, he's got a lot of supply, but he doesn't have a lot of economy. This is a rather interesting game. It seems like both players are trying to more or less just test the waters, and neither of them is really committing to a big attack. I mean, we see that continued aggression here with, once again, those War Prisms, but also the Immortals and the warping of those Archons. At the same time, though, we do see Solar now switching into that Infestation Pit. So, very shortly, he's not only going to be able to tech up towards Hive, but he's also going to be capable of getting himself up those Infestors that are so very powerful right now, with like 20% more range on the fungal growth, but also the slowdown to 70% movement speed rather than it just being a straight up route. However, Zest, I mean, he's got a lot of army here. Only 47 workers. There's a third base here for the Protoss player, but this one is not really meant for mining here for right now. Just spending the majority of his army on getting himself a lot of those army units out. Interestingly enough, however, we see Solar making the switch now to Swarm Hosts. So he's at 162 supply, he's getting Swarm Host out, but are they going to be as good against this Protoss army as they can be against Terran Mech? Roach is now trying to go for a bit of a run-by right here as well, it looks like, and there's very little here available for the Protoss to defend right now. At the same time, though, the War Prism made its way inside of that main base here of the Zerg player. Roaches and Ravagers are dealing with the main base, but it does mean that the third is going to be ransacked here for now. So many Zealots available. We do see these Zealots and Immortals going after that hatchery, as well as, of course, those Archons dealing with all of those units so very well. Once again, beautiful pickup micro there in that War Prism, dealing with all of those Zerg units with ease, and it does look like Zest is just simply making short work of this army, or is he? There's still a lot of units going to town, however, the Zealots in the main base are still dealing so much damage. Beautiful juggling once again, picking up all of those weakened units, trying to make the most of it, but it does look like eventually there's just simply a little bit too much Zerg here available, and Protoss will be forced to retreat. Swarm Hosts were kept alive, right? And that does mean that he's going to be able to use them for the counterattack. But at this point in the game, it is 25 drones versus 54 probes, with more and more of them coming out right now as well. Chrono Boost actually have been saved up here as well, so, you know, at any given time, you can just simply go ahead and Chrono Boost out more and more units. Actually, oh my god, the Immortals are now also dropping on top of all of these Swarm Hosts, and while they did get a single wave of Locust off, I don't know if it's going to be quite enough to kill a base. I don't think it's going to be the case here, actually. A lot of those units ended up dying there, and beautifully defended there by Zest once again. A little bit of indecisiveness here by Solar. He recognizes, however, that he's forced to go all in. We don't see any shield batteries here at the front just yet, but there's a lot of Protoss units here available nonetheless. Continued aggression here. Once again, beautiful pickup micro. There is, however, a lot of Zerg. There are still also a lot of Swarmos here available. It's 107 supply versus only 73. Only a handful of Protoss units remains, but look at that War Prism micro. There's a second War Prism here available right now as well, picking up the weakened units and juggling them back and forth, warping in more and more reinforcements right now too, but Zerg is on the prowl. He's trying to close this game out right now, right here, because he knows that if this goes on for any longer, he's not going to have the economy to properly back this one up. This base most definitely will go down. A lot of the probes indeed will have to find a new home, but with this many zealots getting warped in and all of these probes now also pulled off the line to fight, is there going to be enough Zerg here available to actually clean this one up? Once again, corrosive biles going down, but actually more or less just killing that single Ravager that cast the spell there himself. Locust once more off of cooldown, however. One single Roach apparently does get picked off there, just barely in the nick of time as well. And Solar, while he's got 37 workers available, he did not quite manage to kill his opponent right here just yet. Continued mining, however. You gotta keep in mind that the third hatchery never quite fell. He could have easily picked that one off, but Zest instead decided to juggle the units back and forth between that War Prism there for a little while. War Prism now continuing onwards here for a little while longer, trying to just simply bait all of these locusts to come out. And this is actually something that Solar has been doing for a while. When everyone else was playing Ling, Bane, Hydra, and Zerg vs Protoss, he was actually one of the few Zerg players that was playing, what's it called? Swarmhost Ling Bane instead. Which is quite a bit different when you think about it, but it's a lot of fun when you do manage to pull it off. I mean, the Locust over time just simply gets so much value. Now, this is an interesting point, right? Because both players can actually stare down at each other, but there's no place for them to actually go in between all of these sunbeds. Once again, though, a little bit of continued harassment here with these War Prisms. Zest making those War Prisms look absolutely ridiculous. Interestingly enough, though, it's actually true that the War Prism wasn't changed here whatsoever. Third Nexus once again in production, and Zest is trying to just simply buy himself a bunch of time. The thing is, right, about the supply counts right now, it looks to be heavily in favor of Zerg, but Roach Ravager Swarmhost is rather deceiving when it comes to the supply counts. All of these units are very, very supply heavy. It's easy to max out on them. Whereas once he maxes out, his army is not even going to be that incredible. Fourth base now even being taken here for Zest. I'm assuming this is more or less going to be a backup. When that third base ends up falling, you could go ahead and just simply start mining from this one here instead. A lot of Roach Hydra here available, but there's also a bunch of sentries in there. And of course, this Archon Immortal Ball is very... Oh my god. Once again, great pickup right there. But that Archon Immortal Ball, once again, can deal so much damage. Great control there. Splitting off half of that Zerg army. Archon's nowhere to be seen to break those force fields, and while the Ravagers do so here eventually, it's taking a bunch of time, and the Zerg is getting split off. Such great control here by Zest, making the most of this shenanigans, warping in more and more Zealots as well, a unit that we didn't see in professional StarCraft 2 for like a year straight. All of a sudden, Zest is actually dealing with that entire army, and he ends up obtaining the victory here in game number 2 as well. That was incredible. That was so sick. Zest is now 2-0 ahead in this series. Oh hey, so I actually just looked it up. It turns out that this is going to be a best of 7 finals rather than a best of 5. I was already a little bit confused why it would be a best of 5 in a premier tournament. It is indeed going to be a best of 7, meaning that it is going to be the very first player to reach 4 points. Regardless though, so far I am genuinely impressed with Zest. The man seems to be on fire. I mean, absolutely unstoppable so far. Solar seemed to be very far ahead there previously, but his counterattack just simply didn't work out. And, you know, in the grand scheme of things, it meant that Zest was going to be able to overrun his opponent there eventually after holding on right there by the skin of his teeth. Just barely having that third base getting killed there was a bit of a loss for him, but he still had like 60 workers versus only like 30 from his opponent. And even though the probes weren't efficiently mining for a little while, he was still getting a lot more income there than his opponent. Regardless though, once again, we see Zest going for that very quick forward gateway. And I've actually personally been going for a lot of Nexus first with a lot of probe scouts after, you know, deciding that it is indeed going to be a hatchery first for the Zerg player whenever I do play with the Protoss pieces myself. It seems like Chrono Boost right now is so powerful that you want to try and get it out as early as you possibly can. But it is most definitely worth noting that Zest is going to be a significantly better Protoss player than me. I mean, I reached Master 1 with Protoss. Zest reached, you know, level 1, I guess, which would be, you know, rank 1 Protoss on the planet with the Protoss pieces. So, you know, if you want to take a page out of anyone's book, definitely consider copying Zest's build so far, because the guy seems to be on point. Anyway, I wonder what exactly Solar has in mind, though, because so far he's tried playing macro games, didn't really work very well, right? It hasn't really worked very well for him so far. The guy is playing so very well, and yet he doesn't seem to be able to close it out. I mean, we saw that change, of course. We saw that change to Charge a couple of months ago, where Charge was made significantly cheaper. It used to be 200 minerals and 200 gas, and then they made it 100 minerals and 100 gas, which once again doesn't sound substantial, but in the grand scheme of things, when you're actually playing the game, it's significantly easier to afford 100 100 rather than 200 200. And, you know, obviously it does mean that you get some more units out to defend a bit earlier with. And even though we haven't really seen the Stalker play yet, which I've seen a lot of pro gamers focus on, I hope that Zest is going to show us some of that in this series as well. Once again, jumping straight towards that Twilight Council, he's already gone for Adept play, he's already gone for Zealot play. Does that mean that this time around he's going to go for Blink Stalker play as well? That'd be really cool, actually. Or maybe Mass Sentry. Actually, there's no Sentry upgrade in the Twilight Council. I've always found it a little bit depressing, right? I mean, there's an upgrade for the Zealot, there's an upgrade for the for the Stalker, and then also the Adept, but there's nothing actually for our dear friend the Sentry. I guess there's nothing for the Templar either, but that's okay. Anyway, once again, we do see Pneumatized Carapace coming in, so apparently Solar has decided that he doesn't really want to take the risk. He just simply immediately transitions towards Pneumatized Carapace anyway. I wonder if that's going to be the gold standard. I've been talking to a bunch of pro gamers recently, and they all seem to be of the opinion that while Pneumatized Carapace is good, with the new changes to, and actually, oh my god, we see a Dark Shrine coming down once again, so I think that's going to be Archon drops here once more. But anyway, with the recent changes to the Overlord speed, right, and the Overlords flying across the map just a little bit faster, you seem to be able to get a bunch more scouting info with them out. So that means that you may be able to just simply skip out the Pneumatized Carapace, which is the Overlord speed, and therefore get yourself like 3-4 additional workers. Regardless though, Solar choosing to not go ahead and do so just yet. It's gonna take some time before Zerg players will figure out exactly what their standard is going to be, and obviously usually it's Zerg that is struggling with these new kind of patches, just because in its very nature Zerg is gonna be the more defensive race, where they're trying to just simply stop whatever it is the Protoss and the Terran player are throwing at them. But regardless, he has just figured out that indeed it is going to be a quick Warp Prism once again, and there's gonna be a bunch of Archons out on the map very shortly, with 4 gateways here in total. It means that Zest can warp in, of course, for Dark Templar here as well. We do see the Dropper Lord coming in here actually by Solar. I like this one a lot. Dropping just a handful of Zerglings is going to make this actually pretty tricky for the Protoss player to deal with, because he's currently flying across the map, and while there's not that much defense here available for the Zerg just yet, he's even only getting a single spore in the main and then one at the third, not even getting one at the natural. He's just confident in his Queen micro here, knowing that the DTs will still need to be warped in. At the same time though, Zerglings are now being unloaded here inside of the main base. We see a shield battery being added on right away. I love that. Shield battery actually makes it so that Zerglings cannot quite kill probes in time. Shield battery will indeed be able to regenerate the life of all of these probes as well. A handful of probes will end up fouling though. Look at that. That's a big amount of probes there. That's very substantial. A whole bunch of them here already going down, but at the same time though, we do see the Dark Templar trying to see if they can potentially get some damage in as well. Looks like the Queen was not quite capable of dying there just yet, but I think that the DTs will come back in here in just a little bit in the form of some of these Archons. And actually, interestingly enough, we see 3 more Dark Templar being what? This is like weird, right? This is not something we've seen in StarCraft 2 before. Dark Templar usually get countered as soon as there's a Spore Crawler out. But if you manage to deal enough damage, look at him, he's just target firing it down! Picking up the weakened Dark Templar, are you kidding me? He picked up the weakened Dark Templar and now he's going after the base? Oh my god, that's actually so sick! Those units haven't even been buffed up. Oh my god, he's gonna be able to get the next Spore Crawler as well. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting to commentate here. I'm just watching this with my mouth open, and Zest actually picks up game number 3. What? Those units haven't even been changed. Like, I was just watching that with my mouth open right there. That's sick. Those units haven't even been changed. I mean, Solar trying his best to counter this with minimal defenses, right? Trying to squeeze out as many workers as he possibly can, but Zest showing him who's boss. Not allowing that. There's like losing in the finals, and then there's losing 4-0 in the finals, right? You do not want to lose 4-0 if you are the Zerg player. But anyways, the next game is going to be on Catalyst LE, and actually, Okay, I like this. I like this a lot. So Solar has indeed recognized that his opponent has been going for rather greedy builds here for now. I mean, every single game, with the exception, I believe, of Battle on the Boardwalks, we saw Zest going for that low ground expansion, right? Not getting a fort or whatever, just simply getting himself a gateway. And right once again, we see the exact same thing going down. Now Zest is going to be able to figure out that there's going to be a very early spawning pool in just a little bit. He's actually sending out a drone. Oh, this is made to try it. Oh my god, that's so cheeky. Solar is pretending to go for an expansion. That's the drone timing for an expansion. He's trying to go for an expansion, making that probe not check up in the main base. That's such a cheeky little move there by Solar. 10 out of 10 acting right here for that drone. He's trying to sell a story there. Man, he deserves an Oscar, but it doesn't matter though, because Zest apparently realized that something was a little bit odd. He gave that Protoss, or he gave that Zerg drone there a little bit of room to potentially go for the expansion, but apparently now Zerglings are already in production, and apparently the drones are now also pulled off the line, and this has indeed been scouted rather early on. Now he is trying to make sure that the Protoss probe does not quite see that all of the drones are coming with this party as well. At the same time though, on the other side of the map, we do now see the gateways going down here at the front. Cybercore now also coming in. You cannot make a shield battery until that cybernetics core is done, which is a big deal. I think with a single cybercore, he would just be able to stop this, or with a single shield battery rather, he would be able to stop this very easily. And even though the Zealot is now going to be able to arrive here on the other side of the map as well, there's no cybercore just yet. Protoss was actually saving up for a nexus here for a little bit of time. Mineral walking through that Zealot is going to allow him to surround all of those units here very nicely. More Protoss probes were indeed forced off the line right now as well, but Zerglings are streaming into the bases here. There is no shield battery to be seen anywhere. Drones and Zerglings alike now engaging against that pylon as well. Protoss probes are trying to fight this to the best of their abilities, but all of those units will indeed end up falling, and I think that Zerg finally figured out a way to beat the Protoss here. A bit of a cheeky way, if I may say so myself. But apparently, it turns out that if you go for 12 pool and you pool the majority of your drones with it as well, Zest is gonna be forced to GG out. Alright, so Solar did indeed figure out that apparently his opponent is very vulnerable in the earlier part of the game. Thing is, however, that we're currently on Abyssal Reef LE, and Abyssal Reef LE does have this nasty tendency to be able to get walled off at the top of the ramp right here with just 2 buildings, and the same can be said for this one over here. You can very easily wall off on this ramp, and I wonder if Zest is going to be worried about this whatsoever. Look at that. Oh my god, I love that. Not even sending out the probe, right? He knows that the chance of Solar doing the exact same build once again is very small. So, you know, why would you want to send out a probe, right? You don't need to probe scout if you feel confident in your abilities, and apparently he's just simply gonna indeed send out... Was that really the Diva announcer right there that we heard for just a second? I think that was her squeaky voice. Anyway, Zest is just simply gonna go for the gateway, wall off once again, not scout whatsoever, knowing that Solar is more than likely gonna indeed play a normal build himself as well. And it turns out that indeed is going to be the case. We do see that that hatchery going down on the low ground as the very first main building here for Solar, following it up with an extractor, and probably shortly afterwards the spawning pool here as well. I love this though. This is so cool, right? I mean, so many new strategies already developing, and sure, over the next couple of months, we could probably expect the majority of the games to not run very long. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the games are only going to be a couple of minutes long in total, but it's going to be cool to see either way, you know, how the game will indeed develop over time. What strategies will pop up, right? Like, I mean, for the longest time in Zerg vs. Protoss, we have seen the Zerg player defend until they get 70 workers out. Protoss going for all kinds of different aggression, be it Adepts, be it Stalkers, be it, of course, Oracles, and then also the Archon drops. Those sort of, like, you know, the Immortals, and or rather the Archons, and then also the Oracles sort of turned out to be the standard near the ending of the previous patch. And then eventually, of course, Zerg would transition towards that Hydraling Bane, and we would see a battle for the 4th base. But that's kind of what happens over time, right? Players figure out how to defend the natural and the main base first, then they figure out how to properly defend against the 3rd base first, triggering their opponent to not really play very aggressive anymore. And oftentimes we see the follow-up from there on out as well, where players start fighting for the 4th instead. However, when there's like, you know, a massive balance patch, right? Like, for example, this one right here, we get more or less like a bit of a reset. When it comes to all of the strategies and all of the timing attacks and whatnot, we get a bit of a reset, and everyone will have to figure out the game from scratch once again, resulting in a lot of cool strategies that may have previously not been interesting enough to try out. Zest, once more, going for that quick line at console. And, I mean, if you're a Protoss player in the new patch, I think your go-to should be that Twilight Council and then also the robotics facility, right? Is he gonna go for Stalkers? I want to see him play Stalkers at least once in this series. Come on, make me that blink upgrade. You got the gas and the minerals for it. Nope, instead he just throws up the robotic facility once again. I think that that Zest has got a bit of a marriage with his Warp Prism. The guy is an absolute monster though when it comes to the micro in that Warp Prism, right? Just picking up all of those units when they are a little bit weakened. I mean, in that previous game, even picking up the weakened, what's it called? The weakened Dark Templar. And once again, actually, we see him do the exact same build. Once more, going for the Dark Shrine. Followed, of course, earlier by that robotics facility and then also the Twilight Council. I wouldn't be surprised if we see indeed like 3 more gateways going down. We need 1 more. Zest, we need 1 more gateway. You need 4 in total. There we go. 4th gateway going down as well. Now that pylon right there is vulnerable, but at this point in the game, Solar has got no idea of it. He is indeed transitioning himself as well. Solar making the correct move here, not getting himself the Nematized Carapace here either, but just simply focusing on more units instead, which I think is the smart choice. Going for that Evolution Chamber right now as well, and indeed he must have seen the gateways here at the front. Not quite seeing the 4th one just yet, but I think that he can make the safe assumption here at this point in the game that it is going to be a bit of aggression, and he is indeed already getting himself that 3rd Spore Crawler here as well. I like this though. Making adjustments in the middle of series is one of the signs of great gamers, you know? Like, that's when you know someone is indeed paying close attention to what's going on, adjusting not only to the game and the matchup and the map and all that, but more importantly to the opponent as well, and I think that's very, very important. By the way, is that shadow right there of the Warp Prism off? It looks like it may not be completely accurate. I was looking at that for just a little bit. Anyway, once again, Dark Templar are going to be able to roam the map. There are indeed Spore Crawlers available, but guess what? There's also the Protoss player right here with some of the sickest Warp Prism micro in the game. He's going to be able to pick those units up with relative ease and just simply jump on out of there once again. Queen's trying her very best to close the distance, but it's not quite going to be the case. Zerglings at the same time also moving across the map, knowing that there's a good chance that Protoss is going to try and, you know, move down. I actually love this. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's so cool. So Zest is actually powering this shield battery here. Wait, where is it? Oh, there it is. I was gonna say, there was a shield battery there. He's powering the shield battery with the pylon from the main base, allowing him to do a fast expand towards the 3rd. That's so sick. That's so sick. And look, by the way, at the energy right here of that single adept. Well, as soon as it moves back in range, there we go. The shields on those, the shields on that adept will immediately be recharged once again. And in that beautiful nuke there, I don't think a whole lot of damage can indeed be done. Now, one Zergling apparently looped himself up before making his way across the map. Did indeed manage to sneak past that adept. It's gonna get some scouting information here at the very best. But at the same time, the Immortal or the Archons right now are gonna deal with Zerglings. And they love Zerglings. They nom through Zerglings for breakfast. Even getting the Queen right there, of course, juggling the Archons back and forth as well. The Zergling, however, in the main base actually doing a lot of damage. Already getting 3 probes here. 4th probe going down at the same time. No response here just yet by Solar, but eventually he did end up getting that Zergling as well. But, I mean, Solar, while he's going very Zergling heavy, and I do think that that is a good option, he's definitely got to be careful here with that single Warp Prism that's dealing so much damage here from the Protoss player already. I think that indeed going for a lot of Queens is the correct thing. Ooh, there we go. Nice surround there. Almost getting the surround actually on that sentry, and apparently one of the force field there of those sentries apparently forced out their brother as well, making them die. That feels kind of bad. Anyway, yeah, there's no way that really a lot of damage can be dealt, even though warping in a Dark Templar for defensive sake. And I like this, right? Using the Dark Templar, even when there's detection, even when, you know, you want to use them defensively, that's so sick. Not immediately just morphing them into Archons, but instead keeping them around for a little while. Once again, though, Warp Prism Micro here on the other side of the map. I mean, I think we can already make the assumption that Zest is not going to lose any of those units, including the Warp Prism, of course, in the earlier part of the game. It's just not going to happen. He's trying to scout out here roughly what's going on. Can't really see all too much just yet, but of course you can see the Space Shark that's just simply floating about. I think there's one over here somewhere as well that we've seen in one of the previous casts. But alright, we'll see exactly what the follow-up is going to be. Interestingly enough, the Hydra Den is up. Solar is once again going for the Hydraling Bane style. And he's got a, you know, a decent amount of workers, but he's only got 63 at this point in the game. Normally, you want to make this build work off of, say, like 70 workers, so you can actually, you know, trade reasonably inefficiently against the Protoss, but still be in an okay shape, Right now, Zest is actually advancing towards those rocks here at the 4th base location, where a hatchery is already going down. War Prism that was previously juggling those Archons is now also available here. Not only bringing in the Archons, but more than likely also a lot of reinforcements here as well. Charge is available once again. That means that Zerg can indeed be expecting a lot of Zealots here as well. And indeed, Banelings are now being morphed in. I like this one a lot. And while Solar is currently ahead in the supply counts, he doesn't have that menacing, you know, like, I don't know. It doesn't seem like he's got the pushing potential right here, right? Like, do you want to make a counterattack off of like 60 workers? Probably not. Zest is just simply paying a little bit of time here, or spending a little bit of time here, just hanging out in the corner, posturing here for the most part. And already, you can see the worker count going up. He's just simply securing himself another base. War Prism now dropping off a handful of Immortals as well, going after as many of those units as possible. Not quite shoving forward here just yet, and we also actually do see the Observer right there in surveillance mode, gathering some more intel here on what exactly it is that he should be expecting at this point in the game. Getting some more vision there, indeed seeing just barely that indeed there are Zerglings there ready to defend against this. There's now also a Spire coming in, however, for Solar, so he is going to try and make that switch, but the 4th base is already available here for Protoss, and while this is the most macro-focused game here that we have seen so far, I can't help but wonder that this is heavily in favor here of the Protoss. Right? Like, there's just not that many workers. It's 74 workers right now for Protoss, and only just now does Zerg also have 74, but I mean, normally it's Zerg that's ahead in economy, right? And Zest is doing a magnificent job just simply keeping his opponent occupied and not allowing the Zerg player here to drone. And the longer that this goes on, right? Look, Zest just evened up the supply counts. The longer that this goes on, the more units get spent on gas, the more high-powered units will indeed come out here for the Protoss player as well. Interestingly enough, though, a lot of these strategies here that are being used by the Protoss player were actually around in the previous patch as well, but I guess just the sheer threat and the off chance, and actually a single Baneling trying to come in, but the sheer threat and the sheer off chance that, for example, a proxied Oracle will be coming in forces Solar to make different early game decisions, like for example getting the spores and whatnot earlier, and it allows him to not quite get that powerful economy out that he is so very used to. It's gonna take some time for Zerg players to adjust, but anyways, Solar is near maxed out. The same can be said right here for Zest. Moving across the map right now with the majority of his army, picking up a lot of these units as well, but he's also counterattacking with a ton of Zealots. That's a ton of Zealots. Zerglings, Hydras, Banelings, as well as all of these Zerg units are trying to move across the map, catching a bunch of these units at the same time as well. Storms are going down here at the majority of the army. Zealots now, however, ransacking that 3rd base here of the Zerg player. Hydras, not quite a match here for this army just yet, but the War Prism does get picked off. In the meantime, Zealots are actually regrouping right now through the main base there, and the 3rd of the Zerg player, and Zest just simply has so much stuff. Solar is forced to GG out, and Zest obtains the victory, apparently so, in this very first major tournament that is played in the new patch of StarCraft 2. Great series, I love that. I mean, it's gonna take some time for players to adjust, but it certainly does seem, while Protoss players were initially a little bit worried that they would be weak, it does seem like Protoss is going to be more than capable of pulling all kinds of nasty tricks and just simply confusing the Zerg as far as their strategies go and just simply harassing them to death while microing their butts off. I love it. Very, very cool play right there by Zest. Definitely a well-deserved victory. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button down below. And if you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get a notification as soon as I upload more. Other than that, I want to thank you for watching. Have an amazing day, okay? Do not forget to smile. And I'll see you in the next one.